Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Hope you're feeling today. I'm feeling very, Just been drinking my Founding Flavors coffee today, my own brand of coffee. Stephanie and I got our first bags of the branded version of our coffee last night, and we were super excited to be able to see that everything looked beautiful, and it's just a really special moment. For those of you who have been entrepreneurs, or maybe you want to be entrepreneurs, you probably understand the excitement to a certain extent of, coming up with an idea and seeing it come to life. And when everybody was posting yesterday about getting their first batches of our very own Founding Flavors coffee, we were just having an absolutely thrilling evening last night, going through all the different bags and taking pictures of them, making videos. And I was so excited this morning to bring my first cup of the Adams Patriotic Perk up on the show, because it's the best seller so far. And I think I understand why people like the dark roast. I really do too, and this morning is no different. I'm definitely feeling very 1776 today. I hope you are as well. We've got a lot of great and exciting news and guests for you every day. I usually always try and bring you the absolute best in morning talk shows. Glad to have John Rail here with us today. Thank you for that $2 tip already, John. What have I done to deserve it? He says the best part of waking up is Adams in my cup. Yes, the distilled essence of John Adams. Glad you're here with us today. Is Human resources, a source of evil. Tucker Carlson was having a conversation with Glenn Beck the other day after his forum interviewing Republican presidential candidates, which I thought was very interesting. But one of the comments that he made was not as well noticed or discussed were the comments on what had happened to Tucker Carlson's former production staff at Fox News, apparently being frog marched out of the building. And as someone who has been frog marched out of the Fox News building myself after being laid off, they say. I think I'm in a unique position to talk about that. So we'll talk about that. I'll play that clip and we'll talk a little bit about human resources. The Secret Service knows who brought the cocaine into the White House, by the way. We're going to talk about that as well. At 7:30 this morning, Hannah Cox is going to talk about the crack up of the conservative movement over Andrew Tate. She says one need look no further than the acceptance of thugs like mega influencer Andrew Tate to see how thoroughly the quote moral majority has collapsed in this country. We'll hear from Hannah Cox this morning, and she'll explain her point of view on that one. And yeah, the conservative movement is definitely split down the middle on the Andrew Tate question, especially after the Tucker Carlson interview, which broke the internet. We'll talk a little bit about that today with Hannah Cox. She'll be with us at 7:30 this morning. If you want to hear a conversation about Andrew Tate, then come back at 7:30 if you got to go to the bathroom or go prepare your founding flavors coffee or something like that. At 7:51, I'm going to read the Margot Robbie piece at the New York piece. The New York Times. New York Times. Good God, Austin. Is Margot Robbie mid? Is the question. Calling Margot Robbie's looks mid is insane and dangerous, writes the New York Post. It's a matter of national security. Oh my God. Run, everybody. Somebody doesn't think that your favorite actress is hot. Good God, man. What will happen next? It's basically like the Taliban have invaded the United States. It's really dangerous, says New York Post writer Ricky Schlott. And she's got a schlot to say about it. We'll talk about that with our friend. Oh, you know that Camellia Peterson's going to love it. Yes, I think there's probably going to be some way that I can make Camellia blush at 8 a.m. when she talks to us a little bit about that, as well as Not So Snow White and the Seven Not So Dwarfs. Apparently, Disney is under fire for the latest live action remake of the classic film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, now rebranding the dwarves as something other than dwarves. Seven funny, not little men, some little, some big, some weird, some strange, some animals. What the hell is Disney doing? Why do they do this to us? I can't remember the last time I went and saw a Disney movie in theaters. How about you? But you probably, if you have kids, you probably take your kids to go see that swill, but not me. At 8:30 this morning, I'm actually interested to hear from Adam Coleman. Speaking about body positivity or toxic body positivity standards, we're going to talk to Adam Coleman this morning at 8:30 because he's doing a weight loss journey that's very public and discussing. Um, a little bit about how he has felt about his body over time and the challenges that he's gone through in losing weight. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have about male body image. So send us a text. What do you think? At 573, are we hitting all the big news stories today, or is there anything that we missed? 573-319-1586. Sometimes people will be like, Austin, why aren't you covering this, or why aren't you covering that? And you have to understand that sometimes when I see the news in the morning, I think to myself, this is a really big story, Russia or Ukraine or what have you. But quite frankly, I think sometimes some people can do stories better than I can. And therefore, I don't choose to cover certain stories, even if I think they're important stories, because I say to myself, well, if somebody else is going to be doing it this morning, there's going to be a million people covering Russia or Ukraine or some of these other big stories. I say, let them do what they do best, and I'll do what I do best. It's going to be a great conversation this morning. Also, is there anything worse than someone who pronounces the L in salmon? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send me a text. 573-319-1586. Send us your thoughts with what we should be talking about. Maybe there is a story that I've missed. Again, at 573-319-1586. All right, let's hear what Tucker Carlson had to say. Glenn Beck was telling him the news for the very first time of what was happening to his staff at Fox News, and then they have a little conversation about human resources at Fox News, which was obviously a very scary place. But human resources is a pretty scary place at most places of work. And I don't know if you've ever had run-ins with HR. I certainly have, but I hate it. I despise human resources, and most people that I know of that have had run-ins with HR feel the exact same way. We'll talk about it in just a moment. Let's hear what Tucker Carlson had to say when he was told the news by Glenn Beck that his staff had been fired.
Did you hear the news today about you?
Probably not.
Tucker Carlson's remaining team at Fox News, 9 employees, are going to be frog marched out of the building at 9 p.m. tonight. HR will be waiting outside of the control room when they finish tonight.
We're going to pause for just a moment. Got to say thank you to Baron of the Bayou for becoming a monthly sponsor. Hey, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Real quick, Baron of the Bayou, because I don't want to miss you. Just so you know, first, thank you. Second of all, you get a 20% discount at apforlibertyshop.com. So make sure you hit me up with a Twitter DM or text the show at 573-319-1586. Text the show. Let me know that it's you, Baron of the Bayou, and I will send you the code for the 20% discount.
Show to escort the remaining producers outside. One producer called it degrading.
That is, and this is certainly not a defense of the company that's doing that, but this is kind of par in corporate America. I think it's disgusting.
Yeah,
and I would say 2 things. One, you should always be loyal to people who are loyal to you. Loyalty is reciprocal. If people give up a lot on your behalf, you should do the same for them. And I've never seen a company, a publicly traded company, do that for anybody in the United States.
Yeah, it
and
never
it's
happens.
Okay? I think it's a huge sin that they all commit. The second thing I would say is that I'm 54, so I joined the workforce when there were no HR departments. It was called personnel, and it had a minor role in the life of the company. And the job was to sign you up for your dumb healthcare benefits or take out FICA or something like that. HR evolved on the promise that it would meet the needs of humans, human resources. It has made companies far more soulless, far crueler to people,
big time,
far more at the mercy of lawyers and the grotesque anti-human legal mindset that's really hurt our country, that's stripped the humanity from people and turned them into widgets. HR is an instrument of cruelty and force and coercion, and I think anyone who's working in HR should.
It is, and I'll say this, on one hand, I completely agree with what Tucker is saying here about human resources. I'm sure that many of you do too. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that one. Make sure you're dropping your comments. Oh, and don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content this morning. We'd love to hear from you. But when it comes to human resources, their job is to protect the company. Their job is to protect the corporation, not to protect you. Their job is to protect the corporation from you. They're not supposed to protect you from the corporation. And there's a lot of really good YouTube videos that I would recommend out there that will explain to you how to deal with human resources, especially if you get into trouble at your company and you have to deal with human resources to a certain extent. It's kind of like talking to a cop in a way. You might want to get a lawyer. And I'll say this, that if human resources asks you to talk about a situation and things like that, you really should say as little as possible for the most part. And I'll say this, when it came to on I guess on companies' behalf, I will say this one thing, and this doesn't, you don't have to have human resources for this, but an individual is much more dangerous now because of the information era that we live in, but just because of how digital technology works. One individual who works for a company is so much more dangerous now than they used to be, or can be so much more dangerous now than they used to be. See, my belief is that human resources evolved because of the potential threats that a disgruntled employee, can pose to a company if they decide to try and do damage to the company maliciously or malevolently. And so it's definitely you can understand why corporations started forming these departments. But you need to understand why they exist the way that they do. And once you understand why human resources exists the way that it does, then you can understand how to counteract it, right? They evolved in order to defend the company from you, because now one disgruntled employee can go and download all of the company's secrets or destroy emails or do a lot of things, a lot of damage, harm, relationships with clients and things like that. And so a company is naturally going to create a mechanism in order to defend itself against those potential threats. But even if that's the case, you still need to look out for you. You need to look out for you, the individual, and protect yourself and ensure that you understand how these corporations work so that you can, be able to do your job in peace. And listen, and I know that it's not for everybody, right? Selling coffee and running a merch shop and doing a podcast and working for yourself and being an entrepreneur and schlepping around trying to, make sales, it's not for everybody. The entrepreneur life is not for everybody. But I will say this, that if you can, or if you've ever thought that there might be a chance that you don't have to go and work for somebody else and be the man and work for the man, try, do it. You can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. Get away from these soulless corporations that do not care about you. It is time for a new economy, in my mind. COVID-19 changed the game. And once people got a taste of working at home, then they realized that there's no reason why they couldn't. A lot of us, many of us, maybe not most of us, but possibly most of us, can do our jobs from home. I turned to my wife just yesterday, Steffi and I. We were sitting I was sitting in my easy chair, working on my laptop or on my phone, booking guests for the show today, and she's working on her laptop. And we've got the two dogs sitting on our laps, just cozy. We've got YouTube on in the background, maybe some music or something like that, coffee brewing, and we're just sitting next to each other, my loving wife, and I'm thinking about all the time that I get to spend with my loved one. And I'm working, and cha-ching, a sale comes in, right? So we made a little bit of money that day, right? So things are going on. We can pay our mortgage and stuff. And you know, $20,000 extra a year wouldn't be enough to get me out of that house, right? $50,000 a year would maybe be tempting, but probably not. Probably wouldn't get me out of it because we think about all of the freedom that we get to enjoy of not having to deal with the corporations and the bosses. And just think about your lifetime, your lifeline, 80 years, right? And I definitely am going to look back on these one day, these days, as some of the absolute best days in my life. Am I Tim Pool rich? No. Am I Joe Rogan rich or Russell Brand rich podcaster? No, but I'm getting by. We're making enough money. I'm able to go to Tennessee here in a week and a half and go shoot a documentary and fulfill a lifelong dream. And I have my own coffee business and things like that. And it, it I have never been happier, right? I look over at my beautiful wife with my two dogs, and I think about every minute that I'm spending with them, and I realize just I I know I need to savor that, and enjoy that because I don't have to go to a stupid effing meeting that day, right? I'm gonna go after this today. I'm gonna go do another podcast at 11. I got a meeting at noon to go pick up some camera equipment for the documentary this afternoon, and then I'm gonna come back and write another show for tomorrow morning, and hopefully get some sales today at AP for Liberty Shop. And if I do, then that means I'm going to be able to work from home another day. If you can find a hustle that doesn't involve you having to go and be a supplicant and be a soulless NPC automaton for some corporation, well, then, friends, I highly suggest that you do it. If you've ever thought that there's an opportunity that you could step out of these corporations and go and work for yourself in some capacity, I highly suggest that you do it. Or just start to visualize the path to getting there so that you can do it. Cheeky Mare says, I hate working from home, but I don't have a spouse at home. Well, that would probably change things for sure. But, it does, for me, it certainly is a blessing to be able to look over at my wife and be so happy and realize that, um, and realize that, how lucky I am. So, for our listeners who are tuning in right now, make sure you click that like button, subscribe to the channel. We'd be glad to have you here. European Tin Beater on Rumble says, I would love to start my own collision repair business. You can do it, buddy. Get out there and do it. What's gonna happen if 10, 15 years go by and you haven't done it?
How
How
dare
dare you?
you?
Come on, get out there and do it. Kermode Bear says, HR is the worst. I'm just a bear. They don't understand me. Very funny. Glad to have you here. My buddy Brandon Ellison doesn't know that I'm live right now, so he's trying to talk to me about Final Fantasy 16 and why he's crying because he just finished the game. Haven't even been able to play Final Fantasy in a long time. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. God, people are apparently really fired up about the Margot Robbie topic. they're already commenting over on Twitter saying things like the ones who are calling her a mid probably sleep with a splooge sock and have pronouns in their bio. Good-looking humans know she isn't mid. Meanwhile, grotesque humans believe she's mid, says this Tulio. Ragnar Danielskold says anyone calling her mid is most likely a pornography-watching virgin. Ignore. Very funny. Gonna be a great show today. I know it's gonna be a lot of fun. Let me actually open up my Google Voice chat so I can see what you guys are saying over there in case you are texting me this morning. Ah, here we are. How's this for body positivity? It's okay that my dad has a bit of a gut because at almost 77, on Thursday, he will still ride his bicycle 35 miles a day for fun. You don't have to be perfect, but if your body works well, that's beautiful, says Quest. Very nice. Yes. Thank you. Brandon Bayou says, thanks for the shout out. Yes, absolutely, sir. Thanks for signing up. Thanks for signing up to be a monthly subscriber to the Wake Up America show. All of the monthly pledgers or donors to the Wake Up America show get a 20% discount. And here's the code. I'm sending it to Baron of the Bio. This could be you right now, but you playing. Here's the code. All one word. There it is. Boom. Yep. Sweet. Somebody says, good morning, AP. Not trying to throw a wrench in your morning. Was trying to check out last night in the shop. Every time I did, there was a $25 in shipping in the Tiny Patriot items. Not sure if they coded wrong. Ooh, boy, I got to watch out for that. I'll let Steffi know. We can try and fix that for sure. Yes, I will check on that for you. All right, stop doing work, Austin, while you're supposed to be working, right? No working while you're working. Okay, guys, what's the next topic on the Wake Up America show we're supposed to talk about this morning? Oh, yes, Hannah Cox is going to be joining us to talk about Andrew Tate. Now, I want to play this clip for you all before Hannah comes on here because I think it's interesting and certainly relevant. Did you watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Andrew Tate? I did. It was kind of boring. And I was trying to figure out why it was so uninteresting to me, but then I realized later it's because Tucker didn't challenge him at all, about many of the accusations that have been made against Andrew Tate for the legal challenges that he's facing. But this video did a pretty good job, I guess, of challenging Tate because of some of the things that he said. Let's watch this for just a moment and see a little bit about some of the pushback against Andrew Tate on the conservative movement, because Hannah Cox thinks, it's interesting that the conservatives are so split on the question of Andrew Tate. But I think this video does a pretty good job of detailing some of the questions that Tucker should have asked of Andrew Tate.
That's a really good question. I'm charged with.
Says,
What are you charged with?
There.
That's a really good question. I'm charged with being the head of an organized criminal group, which is in charge of recruiting girls to make TikTok videos.
They face charges, which include human trafficking.
So he says he's, charged with being the head of. So let's hear that again. He says
Charged with being the head of an organized criminal group, which is in charge of recruiting girls.
Of an organized criminal group for recruiting girls to make TikTok videos. But that's not what he's charged with.
To make TikTok videos.
They face charges, which include human trafficking, rape, and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women.
OnlyFans.
Okay, so that's that's definitely not charged with a group to make TikTok videos. That's human trafficking, rape, and racketeering.
This is the best hustle in the world.
Are they accusing you of using violence or?
No.
Except right there in the charges, it says using physical violence.
Accuse me of using the lover boy method, coercing them by being nice.
I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl.
Okay, pause. Just FYI, this is a little explicit in his conversation. So if you got little kiddies in the room, either usher them out or turn me down and mute me, or come back in about 5 to 7 minutes when Hannah Cox is here.
If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You fuck the girl. After you fuck the girl, you do the PhD test. So yeah, on CobraTape.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm
Clever.
And
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me. Oh, and you're always working. Why don't you work for me so we spend more time together? Work for you doing what? So I'll have a webcam business. Oh, I don't want to do that. So, okay, I know you don't want to do that, but listen. Come, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. But let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear it from a girl. And this is why your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl. Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me. This girl's like, okay, well, I'll try it. Put both girls on camera together the first day, so the new girl could sit there and just sit with the other girl and get drunk. Give him a bottle of vodka.
First night that I worked for him, Andrew bought me like 5 bottles of wine. So I got completely drunk because I'd never done webcam work. So I was very, very nervous.
And that's how I got rich. So that teaches everything I know from start to finish about not only getting girls, not only obtaining them, but retaining them. Because that's a completely different game as well.
And over time, I just built up this big little empire of webcam girls. At one point, I had 4 locations, 75 girls working for me. I'd take around half of the money, around 50%.
You take 50%.
Around 50%.
They thought they were on 50%. And I said that the disparity is because of taxes.
He would just pay me a flat fee of £15 an hour.
We got to the point where we had these guys falling in love with
£15 an hour definitely doesn't sound like 50%.
my models. Serious, big time in love, right? Sending crazy money. And they were convinced they were going to meet the chick. This is almost where I kind of felt bad. Because they were like, can we meet? I've sent you $200,000.
But when you look at the money that I was actually bringing in, it just doesn't even scratch the surface.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
Were there any other instances where there was physical abuse?
I saw him smack girls with a belt.
Some ideas? You want some ideas? That's right, lock the door, you knew I was going to beat the out of you. If you behaved, I wouldn't have to hit you, would I? You don't. Get out. You can't stay in there forever.
Once again, this is an IQ test, right? Because any guy who's bad with women would look at it and go, Tate's a woman beater.
I say it. Look at the camera. This is what happens you don't listen. Look at the camera. Why are you getting hit? Why are you getting beaten? You don't listen. You. Do as I say.
Any man who's actually a G, who's been around a little bit, would look at the video and go, man, she wants that.
Okay. I'm a G, and I've been around a bit. And that woman did come out and say that it was consensual, but there's a lot of context here that has to come into play. And there's just a lot of questions that I have about this, especially because it appears as if he's being deliberately deceitful about what he's actually being charged with.
The media machine, they'd call up ex-girlfriends and say, if you have anything bad to say about Andrew, we can pay you $50,000 for the story. And they tried very hard. They didn't find any evidence of anything.
And I had gone to the shower, I came back and I noticed he was, I saw him raping her.
Well, there it is. There's a woman right there who's saying something.
And
people say, why did you leave Romania? And I explain my 5 reasons. One of them is the Me Too era. They go, oh, well, you're a rapist. I say, no, I'm not a fucking rapist. But I like the idea of being able to just say, to do what I want. I like being free.
And of course, they don't go out. They're not allowed out. You stay in the house.
Because I'm not particularly, what would you say, impressed by what he's done on the sex business front. It seems to me a bit on the pimpy side, let's say.
I get called a pimp a lot, but and the reason I use the term is because I don't see it as a negative term. I see it as positively inspirational and motivating person.
She has to respect you and love you and want to work with you. And that's done through positive.
All right, we're going to go to a commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk to Hannah Cox about this. She's going to react to this video and talk about the conservative crack-up over Andrew Tate. We'll respond to that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Donald Trump and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website, and I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's revolutionary roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's patriotic perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Glad you're here. Hope you're feeling good. Are you guys enjoying your coffee? Hope it's some of my new founding flavors coffee. You know, the one that triggered all of the libs on the internet. They were so mad at my patriotic founding flavors coffee brand. I just thought, hey, let's have a nice, delicious coffee brand based around the founding fathers. And then you saw what happened. Boy, the meltdown yesterday. But I think it was in large part because I said, are you tired of drinking woke coffee? And I guess that really just drove them bonkers. But it's time for us to move on. You saw me play that clip of Andrew Tate a few minutes ago where he was having a conversation with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker didn't push back after Andrew Tate told him about some of the charges that were laid against him, which is definitely not true. What Andrew Tate said to Tucker Carlson, usually Tucker Carlson will read anybody the riot act. Mike Pence, push back against Vivek Ramaswamy. He asked all these difficult questions in the forum the other day, but for some reason, Andrew Tate got a pass. In fact, I think he gets a big pass from many in the conservative movement. Maybe just a lot of people are making a lot of money on his name and talking about him. But let's hear what Hannah Cox has to say. She is the co-founder of basepolitics.com, and she's joining us right now. Good morning, Hannah. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Austin. Good to be with you.
Yeah, so the conservative movement is kind of split down the middle on this one. It's fascinating. I know you're not a rad trad like a traditional conservative, right? You're more of that, libertarian like me when it comes to social issues and things like that. But it's been fascinating seeing people who are traditional conservatives, right? The very high and mighty moral majority types take Andrew Tate under their wing and support him. And then you have other traditional types who are like, wait, he's a sex trafficker. And then you've got red pill types who are more socially libertine, who love him and hate him. It's interesting how people are divided along this one, but you wrote a really interesting piece yesterday. Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah. So, in looking at all of this, I've had the same impression as you, Austin. I'm very much a live and let live kind of person, as long as you're not harming others. But Andrew Tate certainly seems to not only be harming others, he seems to be preaching that others harm others too, right? I mean, whether or not he's a sex trafficker or is guilty of the charges that have been brought against him, that remains to be seen. I'm in favor of due process. Everybody deserves their time in court. But we do know that he has bragged about tricking girls into sex work on camera. He's joked about pimping women out. He's talked about abusing women, exploiting women. So he is an abuser. And so it's been really odd to watch the conservative fan base as a whole give him a pass. That Tucker Carlson interview was quite bizarre. I got through about an hour of it. I felt like I was watching a blowjob session, honestly, between the two of them. I've never seen Tucker do less. I mean, I've had my differences with him over the years, but you're right. Usually he at least is an actual journalist who pushes back, has questions, has the facts. He was doing none of that. And it was one lie after the next by Andrew Tate in that interview. I found it pretty grotesque. Tucker was kind of laughing along as he joked about the exploitation of women and these charges that have been brought against him, which are quite serious. So in watching that, though, my main thought kept going back to Gone with the Wind. I know, you're a Southerner, fan of Southern culture. I don't know if you've read it, but in the book version, Rhett says to Scarlett something that's always stuck with me, and that's that there's a lot of money to be made in the building of a country, but there's a lot more to be made in the crack up of a country. And I feel like that is what we are witnessing in the conservative movement right now, where it is cracking up. It doesn't know who it is, what it is. You have so many different factions within it. But as a whole, most of them are really quite untethered from any kind of actual principles or ideology or ethics. And I think that's why you see them have these really hypocritical stances where they'll push things like having a trad life, having a trad marriage, and then at the same time support somebody like Andrew Tate, who is openly promiscuous, has multiple girlfriends living with him. It just doesn't add up. And I think that that's something we're going to continue to see is people like Andrew Tate grifting, making a lot of money on the crack up of the conservative movement until they figure out who they are again.
Well, one of the things that you said in your piece here, Hannah, which I thought was really good, was you say that people who feel weak look for strong people to fight their battles for them. And lacking any standards by which to evaluate their candidates, they often fall prey to bravado, bullies, and bounders who use their desperation for their own gain. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So I think, when Obama came along, and I think this is significant, people need to talk about this more, but Obama did something that I really think broke the right-wing side of the aisle. And he deserves a lot of criticism. He was an extremely punitive president. He was very oppressive. He definitely had an attitude of, I've won, I'm going to shove these things down your throat. I think everything that's happened since Obama has been a overcorrection and a backlash towards him. But I think during that time period, the right stopped fighting for something, right? They'd always at least purportedly stood for free markets and for limited government and for individualism. After Obama, those things started to fade away, and it became more important to people just to merely win, right? To be punitive back towards people. And so I think when they went to look for leaders beginning in 2016, instead of looking for men of character or women of character and people with principles and people who would uphold these ideas that they had stood for some time, they instead looked for people who could come in and kind of be a strong man and fight back against the left. And, it sort of became a by any means necessary. If you needed to trample the Constitution a little bit to do that, so be it. If you needed to impede on capitalism a little bit so much to stick it to people that you disliked, that was fair game. And so I think it has made the right very susceptible to people who are bullies, who have a lot of bravado, but not a lot to back it up, and who are people who, again, are, grifters. They come along and they find a way to tell you what you want to hear, to spin a narrative, to make you feel like you're being empowered. But their message is actually one of self-destruction. I think that's especially true for Andrew Tate. I think he gets a few things right, identifying that men feel beat down by society, that he feels masculinity has become a target, that a lot of men cannot find suitable partners to mate with. But instead of saying, messages of self-responsibility or clean up your room, like we would hear from somebody like Jordan Peterson, he instead says you need to turn around and be punitive, right? You need to, take the people who are hurting you and push back on them and become a monster, basically. And I think that that's a real breakdown. It's not something that's going to actually help any of these people advance. It's going to keep them stuck exactly where they are. But because they're not evaluating their leaders by an actual standard, instead they're just looking for somebody who looks like a strongman to them, they're really easily manipulated by these kinds of characters.
That's interesting. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. And make sure that you click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content that we have right now. I'm speaking to Hannah Cox. We're talking about a piece that she wrote over on her website, basedpolitics.com. The title of the piece, if you would like to read it, is Andrew Tate and the Crack Up of the Conservative Movement. It's fascinating that we have this sort of duality in the conservative movement right now, where we see this movie Sound of Freedom gaining so much attention, and there's so much pushback on the left. And the centerpiece of this film is about sexual exploitation and child trafficking, right? Human trafficking in general, but specifically that movie focuses on the trafficking of children. And then you have Andrew Tate, who many of them laud, who's accused. Now, you use the word credibly accused in your piece, Hannah, and I just want to, I'm going to be the actual Tucker Carlson here and say, push back on that phrase a little bit. I want to, I would be careful about saying that, just because even though I think he may be credibly accused, that was the language that the Me Too movement was using when some people were very not credibly accused. And I know that you said the words earlier, and I agree with you. That was the way to go in terms of that, everybody deserves due process and things like that. But I think if you get pushback from people, it might be just from that phrase, which is quite triggering.
Well, I think that phrase is quite important, though, because as I said, he deserves his day in court. We don't know if he's guilty yet or not, but he is credibly accused. And I think that that's something that has been lied about, not only by him, but by his supporters. And even, he got a pass on that by Tucker, where he comes on this interview and he says, all I did was have some female friends who were on TikTok and they're saying I was trafficking. No, that's not all you did. He is on camera himself multiple times bragging about what's known as the lover boy method, where you basically would convince a woman she's dating you and that you're in love with her, and you would get her to start doing sexual acts on camera that you would then profit off of. And that is what he's accused of doing. And we have him on camera saying that he's done that. He's also accused of being abusive towards women and of sexually assaulting them. We have multiple phone calls and text messages that 2 women have come forward and produced. They have done multiple interviews on this. He likes to say there's no woman actually accusing me. That's false. So I think that it's important people actually look into the allegations. And this is one thing that really made me angry about the Tucker interview, is that he didn't get pushback on any of that. It was really sloppy. It was irresponsible. I'm not somebody who says don't platform people that you dislike or disagree with, but if you're going to, bring the facts, right? Don't give him this whole platform to come on and lie about things and not check them or correct them, because now you've got his fan base that is convinced, right? And this is his whole stick. This is some mass conspiracy against him. This is the world powers coming after him because he's too masculine and strong and he must be stopped because he's going to wake up all the masculine energy if not. And it's like, no, come on, dude. Like, there's actual serious allegations against him. These are credible accounts. They're not just baseless charges. They do need to be flushed out, but I can't stand this notion of like this whole thing is just made up against him and he's just being targeted. No, I don't think there's any credibility to that. And I think there's plenty of documented evidence on camera by him and by others that people can easily find if they actually go and look for it instead of just listening to what he's saying about these allegations.
What's interesting, the sort of undercurrent that's going on in the movement, Hannah, is the sort of tension between the more red pill types on the Andrew side of things versus the more traditional conservative types. And there's a lot of overlap between these two groups. But I've been following some of the debates and dialogues that are going on in the red pill forums where they talk about conservative influencers like Matt Walsh and others. And I find it fascinating that so many people who are in the red pill community are finally pushing back on some of the dialogue from the traditional conservative community, where not only are they hypocrites, many of them for supporting Andrew Tate, as you rightly point out, but they push narratives that really are anti-male in a large way. And where I'm going with this is that I think one of the reasons why Andrew Tate has gained so much credibility on the right is because so many people from the traditional conservative part of the movement really have advocated for a feminized version of masculinity, a sort of what do you call it? Putting men in a secondary role to women, in a sense, that comes from like this biblical tradition. I'm not sure if this is something that you've noticed, or maybe I'm just kind of like, going off on really into the weeds here. But the desire for so many people to have someone like Andrew Tate is in large part because of the weakness of the American male on the right, at least, in previous generations.
I think that's spot on, honest, Austin. I actually really think this is a conversation we need to be having more of because men are not thriving in our society. And I think that we should care about that, right? Whether you're a feminist or you're not a feminist, if you're actually a feminist and you hold to the true form of the word, that means you care about the equality of the sexes. You care about everybody doing well and prospering. That's why I've always labeled myself a feminist, but I've said that means I care about men well, right? As well. I also care about their oppression. I also care about injustice towards them. And there is a lot systemically going wrong for men, especially when you get into the court system, divorce, child custody agreements. I think there's a lot of men who've been beat down by that. I also just think as opportunities have opened up, women have really seized them. We see women are now graduating from college at faster rates. They're quickly moving up the career ladders. Despite the narrative on the left, women are making equal pay. They are often surpassing men in pay. And so you've got a real disparity going on in society where women aren't thriving either because they're not finding equal partners. They're not finding men that are really doing the same things they're doing. That's hurting women too, but it's also hurting men. And I think on top of that, you have the loneliness epidemic that men are facing where they don't have as rich of a community system around them. They don't have as deep of relationships or as many people who are supporting them. They are less likely to seek mental help when they go through something strenuous. And so we see that they have higher rates of suicide. We see that they live a less amount of time than women. So there's all these fronts where men are really hurting in society. And I think that they should be addressed and we need to talk about that for the good of everyone. Unfortunately, though, again, people like Andrew Tate come in and they take advantage of that pain and they sell them a message that will do nothing to help them fix those circumstances. They'll do nothing to help them have the tools they need to address those systemic problems. They'll do nothing that they need to do to improve themselves so that they can be more adequate partners and find mates and procreate and have families and these things that they want to achieve in that realm. And so it's really sad, I think, to watch these kinds of people come in and be able to co-opt that audience because they correctly identify a problem. They correctly identify a portion of the population that is underrepresented and that really needs sort of somebody to come in and encourage them. But then they point them down a path of destruction. And I thought Liz Wheeler and Allie Beth Stuckley, who are two, much further right commentators than me, but they've both been speaking out against him recently. I included some of their tweets in my article, and I really thought that they pegged it right. Liz Wheeler said Andrew Tate is an antichrist figure. He diagnoses a cultural ill accurately, that our society vilifies men, and then for an antidote, he prescribes poison, which is materialism and pornography and the exploitation of women and the worship of self. And I think that is an accurate summary of what he's doing here. So I understand why weak people who feel beat down, look for a strong man. But I think that they are often so easily taken advantage of in those circumstances. And this is yet another example of that.
Man, this is good conversation. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, we're glad to have you here. Make sure you click that like button, like our friend Quantum Kitty, who just joined us over on Rumble. Good morning to all of our friends. Click that like button and subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. I'm speaking to Hannah Cox. She's the co-founder of basedpolitics.com. We're having a nice conversation this morning about Andrew Tate and how the conservative movement is cracking up and split over the question of whether or not he's a good guy or a bad guy. Where do you think this all ends with Andrew Tate? Do you think he actually goes to prison?
I don't really want to comment on that just because, again, I really do believe in due process and letting all the facts be flushed out. I think it's important that there is a trial and that we do get to see all the evidence that there is against him and be able to judge from there. But I think, honestly, Andrew Tate is indicative of a much deeper issue in the conservative movement. And that's really what I was trying to get into in my piece. He's one of many people, I think, right now who's on this beat, who's capitalizing on the fracture of the conservative movement, on the unmooring from the principles that the conservative movement has been tied to for most of its history. And I think until it figures out what it actually stands for again, instead of just trying to stand against something and beat back against something, you're going to continue to see people come in and grift off the conservative movement, make a lot of money doing it. But just as Andrew Tate is misleading men, all of these people are misleading the conservative movement. You don't win by continuing to throw away the principles of free market capitalism and individualism, which are the things that actually made this country great, which are the things that we need to do to truly defeat the left. And that means being able to have some tolerance for other people. That means being able to recognize that some people will use their freedoms in ways you don't, but that is a much superior position to be in than expanding government and using it to go after people in ways that will then simply be used against you. So I think conservatives as a whole need to figure out, who they are again, or they're going to keep getting led further and further down a road of destruction as well.
That's good stuff. Hannah Cox, great writing. It's great to see Based Politics. I see it in my feed now. More and more people are sharing your website that you co-founded with Brad Palumbo. It's been great to watch your success, Hannah. Thank you for giving us your time this morning. We appreciate you very much and keep doing the good work that you do.
Thanks so much, Austin. We appreciate your support.
Thanks. Have a great day. That's Hannah Cox of based-politics.com. Make sure you give her a follow there, as well as on Twitter at twitter.com. You can check her out at Hannah D. Cox. All right. It's time for us to move on. I got something else cooked up for you here, ready to go. All right. Is Margot Robbie mid? Hollywood bombshell Margot Robbie is now apparently mid, according to Twitter trolls. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I loved last night. My wife, after I tweeted this article, I just hear her voice on the corner because she gets updates and alert whenever I tweet. And sometimes she'll ask me questions about why I'm tweeting what I'm tweeting. And last night was no different. I had tweeted this article and I was like, then I started doing something else. And then I hear from around the corner this little quiet voice. What is mid? Stephanie. I had no idea what mid means, so I had to explain it to her. Mid means like middle, as in middling. I like the word middling. Nobody uses the word middling anymore, but it's a good word, middling. As in sort of mid-level attractive, and a 6 or a 7 out of 10. At least that's what some people are calling the star of the new Barbie movie by Greta Gerwig. Now, for those, of course, Urban Dictionary defines mid as somebody on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 4, 5, 6, or 7, and is, quote, just like every other girl. And they showed a picture of her without makeup. Definitely mid, says Robbie on the internet. If you've seen the picture from the profile, the internet thumbnail for this, the YouTube thumbnail, Rumble thumbnail, I showed the picture of her without makeup, so make sure you check that out. The picture of her without makeup that people are talking about right now. The article over at the New York Post says that arguing about Margot Robbie's hotness is insane and really dangerous. Oh yeah, it's super dangerous. The tweet of Robbie saying that she's definitely mid was viewed more than 62 million times. Another declared on Twitter, she is a hard 7. You used to find a Margot Robbie in every Blockbuster video in 1995. Hilarious. Buddy Mansour says, my wife, the history buff, is debating between seeing this or Oppenheimer. You have to see both. It's called Barbenheimer. Here we go. So the digs at Robbie's looks come as the Australian sex symbol is set to star in the Barbie movie out July 21st, with some actually implying she isn't attractive enough to carry the role. Okay, well, let's see. I actually found the picture here of her without makeup. Let me see if I can get it up on the screen for you guys. Here we go. Pull it. Here it is. The picture of her without makeup. Scroll down, Austin. All right, so you can see if she's mid or not. Here we go. All right, there she is on the right. This is her without makeup on the right. See, on the left, there she is all in all of her glory, Wolf of Wall Street glory, which I think, she definitely got a lot of people excited in that movie. That movie was very exciting in general. This is her without makeup, though, on the right. What do you think? Well, she's got big. Stephanie was like, she wanted to talk about this as soon as I posted this article. So I was like, all right, well, maybe this would be a good topic. We do have a lot of ladies, probably an inordinate amount of women who watch the Wake Up America show. Probably because of topics like these. This is her without makeup. She does have nice, big, full, voluptuous lips. Here you can see, very pretty blue eyes, although rather dull here. So the eyes, that's because of the lighting. She has nice skin, things like that. So I would say, I don't know. I'm not going to wait until I give my answer here on whether she's mid or not. She was cast in Barbie explicitly because she isn't pretty enough to alienate a female audience. A tweet with 2.6 million views reads, "Where are the big Barbie doll tatas?" He didn't say tatas, though. Robbie, of course, this is the writer of the New York Post who says, "Robbie is perhaps the closest human equivalent to a wildly disproportionate, literally plastic caricature of what a woman should be, and anyone claiming otherwise is out of their mind or trolling for clicks." Hilarious. Continue on here. The writer says, "The expectation that Robbie could somehow more literally resemble a Barbie doll is absurd at best and sexist at worst." Oh, it's terrible. In fact, according to an analysis, oh God, here we go. Here come the facts and statistics. Ready? How dare you? Here come the statistics. According to an analysis by South Shore Eating Disorder Collaborative, oh God, a life-size person with Barbie doll proportions would be 5'9", yes, and 39-inch bust, yeah, and 33-inch hips, okay, and a measly 18-inch waist, not to mention a size 3 shoe. Yes, exactly. No wonder many on Twitter came to Robbie's defense. "This new trend on Twitter trying to convince us that Margot Robbie is mid is insane," one user wrote. Another posited that trolls degrading her looks were either partially blind, not attracted to women, or aliens. Andy O says, "I suppose Anna Nicole Smith would have made a great Barbie." Yes, exactly. Thank you. Before she got all drunk and did the Anna Nicole show. It goes without saying that, as she says, the author says it goes without saying that Margot Robbie is anything but mid. Well, if it goes without saying, then why are you having to say it, right? I think there's a little bit of, I feel like in this article, there's just a little bit of personal problems that are airing themselves. I feel like there's a little bit of projection going on in this. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Send us a text, 573-319-1586. I'm going to go get Camellia Peterson. It's not going to take me not but a moment to get her. Don't you dare leave. I'll be right back with Camellia to answer the question on, is Margot Robbie mid? See if Camellia Peterson thinks so. Let's talk about another woman's looks. It's going to be fun. Talk about appearance. It's the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Is Margot Robbie Mid, and is it no longer Snow White? She's not very white, apparently, in the new Snow White film and the 7 not-so-dwarfs. We're going to talk about that in just a moment with our friend Camellia Peterson. Jacob Allen, though, over on Twitter, says it's funny how people are debating if Margot Robbie is mid every day, while it seems a new article is telling us that Lizzo is stunning. Joining us now to discuss is Camellia Peterson, maybe with a little more dating advice as well. Camellia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Last night I was looking at Twitter for the day and I was like, oh my Lord, just like shut it down. I was like, I am done with you people. I was like, what is going on? Margot Robbie, we're still talking about whether Margot Robbie is mid. We're talking about Andrew Tate and other, like all of this other kind of nonsense. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to get out my French press and I'm going to grind some of the beans that I just got of the Jeffersonian Java and make myself a nice cup of coffee and relax, because that's what I do to relax at 9 o'clock at night, is drink coffee.
Okay, well, we're glad to have you.
So,
Hope you're
it's
enjoying it.
I am.
Good. All right. Well, that's probably because there's not a lot of other real news that's going on in the world. So people like me have to come up with things to discuss because we have 2 hours to fill every day as it is, right? We got a job to do. So that's why we're talking about things like this, but also because it's fun and funny, and people say, I don't want to talk about it, but they're commenting and liking and sharing.
Well, I was going to say, people evidently are interested and they are talking about it because it is all over the internet.
Kermode Bear over on Rumble says, is Austin mid? Discuss. No, we will not be discussing that today. Everybody knows I'm a perfect 10. But it is funny, though, because, and I think you and I talked about this, maybe we even mentioned it last week when we were talking about that she's just hot enough to be Barbie, but not hot enough to threaten women.
Right. And the idea that, original Barbie proportions would be completely unrealistic in real life.
Unrealistic? Wait a minute. How is it unrealistic if there are actually women out there who do have those proportions? I hate when women say that. Oh, it's unrealistic. It may be unrealistic for you, right? Maybe you have never been a perfect 10, but there are perfect 10s out there.
I have never pretended to be a perfect 10 to start.
Well, not you, Camellia. I'm not speaking. It's the royal you.
Yeah, I get it. No, I'm kidding. Well, here's the thing. I disagree with the fact that those proportions are, even close to half of women, let alone a majority. I think it's the exact opposite. They're probably a very small percentage of, what women look like normally. And the thing is like if you want women to look like that, the only reason we see so many women that look like that is because they're all over the internet because we're responding to what men seem to want. And so, if the thing is that men like want women to look like that, but then they also really don't want women who've had a lot of work done. So, what are you going to do?
It's hard to say. I mean, I understand the standards are impossible. Like you're never going to be able to live up to it. But it is funny at what the Twitter user said earlier, where you'll have people shoving in your face how Lizzo's beautiful, she's beautiful, she's just goddess, she's a 10, and all that kind of stuff. But then we'll kind of cut down Margot Robbie, right, and say, oh, we'll say look at a picture of her without makeup. But it is kind of also fascinating too how women you really do have to use a lot of makeup to really hit that status, whereas we men never use makeup and we look so good. I mean, it is kind of fascinating. I wonder why that is.
Well, I think it's because of uh, the mass media and culture, and
Sure.
for as long as time has existed, women have been using makeup. Cleopatra, they've been using makeup to accentuate features because there's attraction in that. I mean, it's an age old truth. And so I think that there's a lot more of that because when we started to have mass media and you had television and print and all of these things, you're going to put out what is most attractive to people. And suddenly that becomes the new normal to live up to. I'm really interested in looking forward to your interview with Adam Coleman on male body image, because this is one of the things I was thinking about is that there is all of this. I think it's a fair point in that that New York Post article that it puts a lot of pressure, and especially on social media, on young girls who are this expectation is set. And now here is this attractive woman that everybody is, carrying on about whether or not she's mid. And so there's this pressure to live up to these beauty expectations that tend to do away with individuality. And I wonder, we've talked about how that what women want in men, and they want somebody who's gentle and kind and understanding and all of these kind of things. And we talked about the fact that women kind of project qualities that they value onto men. But I also think that men tend to do the same thing. That when you're looking at what men are doing as far as body image, men are very visually oriented. And so appearance is a big deal. And so I think that they tend to think that that's what women want as well. And it's not that women don't want that at all. Don't get me wrong before you go there. But it is not like when it comes down to whether or not that's the deciding factor in a relationship for women, that's not it.
I think looks are valuable for men. Um, I think looks are probably more important to women than they are to men. That always blows people's minds when I say that, and they give that look. But I will take that with me to my grave. I think and not only are looks important to women when it comes to what they choose selecting a mate or male for men, but women are also very selective when it comes to looks for the friends that they choose that are women. And they, that's why, mean girl clubs exist and, the popular girls exist because women enforce beauty standards. And the idea that, that men are, taking their cue from women, I mean, or that women are taking their cue from men, I think is a little bit silly. Because I really see like looks and attractiveness as an almost entirely female activity. Yes, men absolutely do like beautiful young women, and that is part of it. But that is absolutely not everything that most men look for in a woman because until you've dated a woman, I can tell you that, after a few weeks, I guarantee you, no matter how hot she is, some guy somewhere is tired of her shit. But
That's fair.
the one thing that the New York Post writes here, I think is interesting when she talks about toxic beauty standards and things. She says that holding them up to cartoonish proportions is even worse. She says that there's already enough pressure to look better than humanly possible. I think that that's mostly women placing that on each other. She says girls' self-esteem is being absolutely destroyed. I don't see that because I almost feel like, and this is the kind of thing that they will take and run in a campaign ad against you if you ever ran for office again. I almost feel as if your self-esteem might be a little bit too high. And the reason why I think that is because if you sat down, any average, 20 to 30-year-old young lady these days, and I've seen them do these in like these Jubilee videos, they ask them to rate themselves. It's like that Whatever podcast. Do you know what they
Yes.
all rate themselves?
Well, a lot of them are going, well, especially the ones who are going to go on podcasts like that are going to rate themselves as 10s.
They rate themselves
Sure.
10 out of 10. It doesn't matter, if they're Snorlax, the Pokemon, right? If they're, it's a big old fluffle butts, it doesn't matter, right? You got a big old horn sticking out of the side of your nose, rings, like ugly tattoos all over your neck. They all rate themselves 10 out of 10. There's a level of delusion that exists, right? That self-esteem, it's like the same thing with Lizzo, right? She's beautiful, she's amazing. But if I told you, if somebody came up to you and said Lizzo's beautiful, she's amazing, and then if you replied to them and said, you remind me a lot of Lizzo, they'd probably be offended. Why?
Right. When you say that, where my mind jumped to is I don't know if this is a uniquely American thing in general, but part of me wonders if it is because, there's this whole thing of American exceptionalism and this idea that, we're individuals and we're better than anybody else. And you can do anything as long as you set your mind to it. And don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough because you are good enough and you can be anything you want to be. And, we've talked about that, I think probably a while back about how that sets up unrealistic expectations for your children. And I think that you're probably right that that's not entirely true what they're talking about in that article. This is something that I talk to about my daughters, frequently. And Felicity and I have talked about this. And the other day, we were talking about, I don't know, I talk a lot with them about, sticking yourself in a box and labeling yourself and locking yourself into things that then now you feel pressured to remain that person, and you should not do that. And we were listening to something the other day, and it was kind of along those lines. And Felicity was like, this is like, nothing new. She's like, this is just common sense. It's no big deal. And I told her, I was like, I know that you think that, but that's because you have been taught to think that way. And we have talked about that. That is not the vast majority of kids. Kids are not taught how to cope, healthy, in a healthy way with all of the pressures that they get online and in school. And I'll just put another plug in here for whatever's wrong with society, in that, I think a lot of this comes about in our school system and the way we're set up. We're not designed to be in classrooms full of people our own age for 8 hours a day. That's not healthy for a child's development, but that's where we are. I actually think we could probably trace a lot of our societal ills back to that setting.
I wouldn't disagree with you there. Good morning. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. We're glad to have you here. Make sure you click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the commentary this morning. The comments are nice and spicy over there, I see on Rumble and YouTube. Glad to have everybody here. Make sure you pay your dues if you're watching the show and click that like button so that we can spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. Camelia, I'm going to move on to the next topic here. Disney's forthcoming live-action Snow White film is under fire for being, quote, politically correct, that it's reimagining the 7 dwarves as magical creatures of all sizes and genders. What's the story here?
I had no idea this was even a thing. Can we stop remaking old Disney movies, for God's sake?
No.
So apparently now Snow White no longer, like, where's the, as somebody said, where's the dwarf equity? There are no longer any dwarves, or there maybe might be 1 or 2. And I don't know, there's like, it's like Snow White, somebody else said, and the 7 diversity hires. And there's no Prince Charming. How do you have a Snow White without a Prince Charming? Also, Snow White isn't white. So like they just mixed it all up. Like Snow White is I don't know what we call her that wouldn't be incredibly rude, but she's Hispanic.
It is funny though how you that like the diversity when it comes to playing characters, it only goes one way. Have you noticed that, Camellia? Like, there's not going to be any white guy who's going to play Black Panther. It'd be like if I played Kunta Kinte in Roots, right? Are you there?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Well, yeah. I wonder why that is.
I am just at, well, I mean, affirmative action goes one way, right? We
Yeah.
just did away with that, right?
Yeah. Well, I used to, when I was an actor, I used to play roles that weren't necessarily parts that you'd be typecast for, right? You would get on stage and you would play a role of an old. One time I played an old man, and I would walk with a cane, and it was this idea of getting into character. But there's this aversion, and there's this desire of minority characters to play white characters. Like Hamilton, I think, is probably the best example of that. But here's the thing. It's supposed to add something, right? It's supposed to like make you think about something in a different way, right? But I mean, you would think that with the way the woke mind works, like black people playing the founding fathers, or Mexican people playing the founding fathers, or Hispanic people, whatever, playing the founding fathers as slaveholders. I mean, we're all supposed to be offended that these founding fathers all were holding slaves, and yet minorities want to play these roles of the people that they despise. So it's kind of a have your cake and eat it too. But I mean, it doesn't go the other way. Like, I can't get on stage and, play a black character. Or even now in Hollywood, they don't want straight people playing gay roles and things like that. It's like, if you're not a disabled person, you have to be a disabled person, right? But that's the thing, is like, it's a double standard. Like,
Sure.
all of the white roles, if it's Snow White, oh, it's no problem. Like, cast an African actor to play, Snow White, the whitest character, like literally her name is White. But then if you're a trans or a disabled person, you have to actually be trans or disabled to play that part. Why is that?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if it's kind of like reparations. I don't know. It's like reparations, because like we have to,
Theatrical reparations.
right? We have to take over everything that was and now make it ours and get our due with it. But it just like I think it speaks, and you've talked about this before, to just the unoriginality of film today and writers, and there's just no creativity anymore. Like, if this is the best you can do, like, come on. I mean, the best you can do is like do a lame reimagination of something. I will tell you, it cracked me up when I got to the end of this article and realized that the Snow White remake was written by the Barbie director. Like, I'm sorry. I know some people have said that Barbie looks like it actually might be pretty funny. Whatever. I just cannot bring myself to go watch that. I don't know.
It looks great. It looks really
No.
good. No.
I can't.
Well,
I'm
but
like,
here's the thing. So what I've been reading about the Barbie movie, I'm pro Barbie movie, because it has the way that they wrote the movie, they say, and this is their marketing, is that it's not just a movie for Barbie lovers, it's also a movie for Barbie haters. So if you hate Barbie, you will also enjoy this film. So it's very self-aware in that way.
but what's Ken's role in the Barbie movie? I mean, is he like?
Well, here's the thing. So I really like this, and this has got people, especially the girls online, very excited. Barbie has a great day every day. Ken only has a good day if Barbie looks at Ken.
Yeah, I thought that's what I heard. Feminism. Oh my God.
Feminism, right. So I mean, and then I saw people were complaining the other day because they're like, "Oh, there's trans or gay LGBT ideology in this movie, blah blah blah." They're trying to like cancel it for being woke or whatever, and I'm just like, dude, if you think that like a movie about a female titular character being Barbie is not going to have some kind of gay or LGBT theme to it in some extent, you're fooling yourself. But I do laugh, because the funny thing is about like these characters in these movies is that when it comes to like the LGBT characters and stuff like that, they still very much are secondary to the main hetero leads. If you think about it, they'll celebrate the fact that there's diversity in the film, but the reality is that nobody, for the most part, wants to go see a movie with a gay character lead. I mean, other than Brokeback Mountain, which is an anomaly, and they were straight.
Okay, so here, I never saw that, by the way, you know that. So I think though that's reflective. That's capitalism coming to the forefront, because that's reflective of the makeup of society and what will sell. Now, Hollywood's been trying some things that haven't been selling, and I think that they probably are maybe learning some lessons from that, because they put out some of this really, woke stuff where they go too far with it and it tanks at the box office.
No kidding. Camellia, this was a good conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before I let you go today?
Well, I would just like to tell everybody that you are good enough. You're probably mid. That's okay. We all are. So I hope all of my fellow mids just go out there and have a great day anyway.
Not me. I'm a perfect
Don't
10 out
listen
of
to the
10.
haters.
Yeah, right. Camellia Peterson, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for being a good sport. We appreciate you very much.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day. What do you think of Camellia? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. And also make sure you click like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content that you're seeing here on the Wake Up America show. We're every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. We'll be glad to have you joining us here every Monday through Friday for the 2 hours. It's a great way to get informed on what's going on in the news these days. And I'll tell you, there isn't a lot going on in the news today, which means sometimes we get to talk about gossip and have a little bit of fun. European Tin Beater over in Rumble says, so they can't come up with anything new, so they're going to destroy the best movies of the past. Makes perfect sense. Very true. Katie556 says, yeah, imagine an MLK movie with a white guy casted for MLK. Is it casted or is it cast, Katie556? I only say that just because somebody was laughing the other day about, or somebody actually was tweeting this morning about their pet peeve was people who say casted instead of cast. I think you can, when it comes to casting a reel, you can cast a reel and casting a reel, but I don't think, can you say he casted the reel or he cast the reel? It's always cast, isn't it? I don't know. I don't think casted is a word. I'm not sure. Maria Krabs says that I heard that social credit scores were so much more than selling the good does not matter anymore. Is that true? Not quite sure what you mean, Maria. Explain more. CJ, you're a tan girl, says Sarah Palacios. Good morning, Sarah. I don't think she's as tan as you are. Philadelphia with Tom Hanks is an example of a movie where a straight actor played a gay actor, says John Turner. Good morning, John. Nice to see you, brother. I hope you're doing well. By the way, are we sure Ken wasn't always gay? Good point. Good question. All right. Let's see. Where do we got to go? Oh, we've got Adam Coleman coming up in about 5-6 minutes. But before we do, I want to remind you, if you haven't yet, today's a great day to find out more about how to protect your financial future by investing in gold and silver. Now, Lear Capital are generous sponsors of the Wake Up America show. And I'll tell you, without Lear Capital, there probably would be no Wake Up America show at this point, because they have been major investors in our show to help us to keep the lights on around here, to be able to invest in cameras and lights. We do really well with our monthly sponsors, for people who sponsor the show, people who buy merch, but the major money really does come from Lear Capital. There's one way that you can say thank you to them today for free, by getting more information from them about how to invest in gold and silver. Sign up today at learaustin.com, at learaustin.com. Sign up at learaustin.com. Get more information about how to invest in gold and silver. If you've been thinking about buying gold or silver at any point, I know that it can be really complicated and you're curious, am I really going to get the best deal here? What kind of risks are involved? I'll tell you right now, the best way to find out is to visit the website, learaustin.com. But if you want to get a great deal that they're offering right now, buy 1 ounce of gold, get 1 ounce of silver, you got to call them. 1-800-885-2175. Call them today at 1-800-885-2175. And I promise you, they won't bug you with all the phone calls or marketing or anything like that. They're very respectful of your time and energy, and they won't waste it. So call them today. Ask them about that deal. 1 ounce of silver when you buy an ounce of gold. 1-800-885-2175. That's 1-800-885-2175. All right, when we get back, we're going to speak to Adam Coleman about his weight loss journey and male body positivity standards. We're going to talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
The Cantina Crew, this is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state. Reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty Shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. How you feeling today? Good. Did you enjoy my Founding Flavors coffee? Stephanie and I were so excited yesterday when everybody started getting all of their bags across the country. We were getting photographs. This morning, somebody said, somebody took a picture of how they were enjoying their George Washington Revolutionary Roast. And they had said that, or they had posted the picture that showed them putting the coffee beans in their ice cream with like chocolate drizzled all over the top. It looked absolutely amazing and, you know, made me want some ice cream for breakfast. Maybe I shouldn't be eating ice cream for breakfast. I am the heaviest I have ever been. And, you know, like everybody else, we've been having this conversation about Margot Robbie and others and body positivity and toxic body standards for women. But we don't really talk a whole lot about body standards for men. So why don't we do that right now? Joining me now is the founder of Wrong Speak Publications and Adam Coleman to talk a little bit about insecurity and body positivity for men. Good morning, Adam. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
Adam, you've been starting this process of kind of documenting your weight loss journey and starting a conversation about, you know, insecurity in public. It's kind of a brave thing for a man to do. Would you like to share with us why?
Yeah. For one, I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk about this. I like to talk about my faults because if you don't acknowledge it, you can't fix it. And I figure if I'm going through something, there's probably someone else going through the same thing. And I've learned that sometimes it's good to hear that you're not alone in your struggles. And maybe it gives you some motivation to kind of move out of it. So when I talk about insecurity, I never mean it from a place that like, this is how I feel, this is how I'll always feel. And much of like the leftist version of body positivity is about accepting it and just doing nothing about it. What I'm talking about is understanding that I'm going through these emotions, acknowledging it so I can change it. So, you know, my first video episode talking about insecurity, in the end, I'm saying it's kind of therapeutic to finally like just say it, to acknowledge it, and now I can try to move forward with it.
It's one thing to say it though, Adam. It's one thing for, you know, you to admit it to yourself. So the other day I stepped on the scale. My wife is there. We're in private. Now I'm talking about it publicly, but like I had seen that I had hit 245 pounds, the heaviest I have ever been in my life. And yeah, sure, I work out a lot. Some of it's muscle, but let's be honest, I'm probably 50 pounds overweight of what I really should be here. And I'm embarrassed. Of myself. I'm embarrassed to admit it. I'm actually a little embarrassed to be talking about it in public right now. And I know that things need to change. So talking about it in public is a big difference between a private moment on the scale between you and yourself and struggling with this in private. Why go public?
To potentially help somebody else. Talking about it publicly, I think I'll put it like this. I think too often there are public figureheads that have to make themselves appear perfect. And because they make themselves appear perfect, they're not actually that relatable. Where like the people I've met throughout my life, regular people, they have flaws, they have issues, there are things that they're going through. And I mean, that's been my entire life. I've had some sort of struggle, whether it be mental health, my fitness, my exterior, economic struggles. I've had all types of struggles, and these are things that are relatable to most people. So I think it's good to talk about these things to show that, hey, even the person who's experiencing some success is going through the same type of struggle that I am. And me documenting the weight loss, I think is, in talking about it in some small way, maybe someone who follows me is like, you know what, Adam's doing his thing, maybe I need to do my thing as well. So, I'm officially down, was it 39.2 pounds from just a few months ago. So, I mean, that's a big weight loss. I want to lose more, obviously. So, I think documenting it and talking about it can be helpful.
I'd like to talk about this in terms of gender discourse, Adam, because a little bit earlier we were talking about body standards for women and, whether or not those standards were realistic or not. We were talking about self-esteem and things like that. But I'd like to talk about what it means for a man to have body positivity, or I guess not body positivity, but what it means as a man to like feel that insecurity, because we really are. I know that women are ashamed as well, and there's a lot of that whole culture exists, and that's been endlessly analyzed. It's the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine and things like that. But men really do deal with insecurity as well about our bodies, and quite frankly, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people would rather we shut up about it. I think you need to man up and not talk about it. And how would you respond to that?
Yeah, it's the way I kind of put it in the video was that men aren't allowed to talk about problems unless they have a solution. And, because it doesn't look attractive for a man to complain, right? Our complaints come off as complaining and, meaning not doing anything about it. So, I have the solution now, and hence why I'm talking about it. But I think a lot of men don't have a solution. And in the video, which will be coming out shortly, I'm talking about not only like, okay, yes, I've gained weight, but it's beyond that, because I've lost a bunch of weight before, but in my head, nothing has changed. And I didn't appreciate the weight that I lost. And it took a downward spiral. So I didn't have a solution. I didn't have a great way of looking at it. Losing weight is the superficial angle, but what about the mental angle? How do you resolve that part? So these days, I'm much more mentally strong than I was years ago when I lost a bunch of weight. And I have a better outlook, a better understanding as to why my weight keeps fluctuating, which is why I wrote an article talking about, I have a food addiction, and by recognizing it as that, I can understand the severity of what is going on and how not to minimize me gaining, a few pounds here and a few pounds there. But being something like an alcoholic would count their days, I need to count my weight. I need to be accountable for my weight gain and what I choose to eat.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but even when I think about dieting, I feel hungry immediately. It's just thinking about dieting, and I'm like, I need a handful of M&Ms right now, right? It does become kind of an emotional support if you're having a lot of stress. For example, for me, like I'm not like I don't eat because of like depression or sadness or anything like that. I eat because I'm feeling stress, right, or anxiety. So like if I have a little bit of a sugar high, then it's gonna change my mindset a little bit, right? So like it kind of tone down my anxiety, But I think that that's probably a psychological phenomenon there. So a lot of overeating, I feel like it doesn't have necessarily to do with things, with your stomach, right? You're not actually hungry, but
Mhm.
it has a lot to do with your brain and your brain chemistry telling you to eat, right? Whether that's depression or whether it's anxiety or stress, there's something about our brain chemistry that tells us to go for food as a sort of almost a defense mechanism in a way, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, most of the things about uh, our nature, whether it's like mental health issues or mental struggles about how to approach things in life, it's about changing your pattern. Um, and that's why it's very difficult for people to change their behavior because you you develop this habitual nature. You don't even think about it. You just do it and you react. And it doesn't help when there's a chemical portion to it, like sugar, that you're fighting against to kind of fighting against you wanting to change that habitual nature. One of the actually not one of like the number one thing that we did was we had to stop taking in sugar. Like I just started seeing sugar as poison. Um, and that's how I stay away from it. And once you basically detox from that, everything becomes a lot clearer because you no longer have that drug in your system, making you altering your body and altering how you think and oh, I need to do this, I need to do that to feed the addiction. So getting rid of that, like I said, I see it as poison in a drug at this point. And by doing that has actually made it easier for me.
Good to know. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, we're glad to have you here. If make sure you click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. I'm speaking to Adam Coleman, the founder of Wrong Speak Publications. We're talking to him this morning about his weight loss journey and his dealings with insecurity, and he's going public with that. And he's got a video series coming up. Talk to us a little bit about this video you've got coming out.
Yeah, the first video. So I actually started a podcast, mainly just me ranting, but it was audio only on my Substack, which is adambcoleman.substack.com. After much nudging from people who care about me, especially Ed Lattimore, he was like, "You gotta do video, you gotta do video." So I decided to do a video series, a video podcast, along with it, along with just the audio. So I'll have the audio version as well as the video version of the podcast, and I'm trying to link it to my writings as well. So I do have an article about insecurity in my Substack, and I figure doing a video version of that topic would be something that's just another benefit for people who follow me, or maybe bring in new people to follow me, to give it like a visualization. So I chop in like interviews that I've done, and you can see the difference in my face, how big I was when you compare it to what I look like now. You can see those particular things. I show you images of my body, as I'm walking around or as I'm sitting down. You can see how unhealthy I was living, and the track that I'm trying to head towards now. So I just figured I might as well try and go for it from that angle. And obviously, like, this is just one episode, but there are going to be more where it might be political, it might be just how I'm feeling, it might be just a particular topic. But generally, I try to talk about things on a positive note, and try to help people along the way.
That's a really good message, and it's certainly one that a lot of men need to hear today. Adam Coleman is the founder of Wrong Speak Publication. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners about this topic, or any plugs you'd like to make before we let you go today, Adam?
Yeah, Wrong Speak is slowly expanding. We're just now getting into journalism. So we now have some news items. Right now, we're averaging about 2 articles a week, just deep dives into a particular topic. We had a big one last week about the ALA. We just had one yesterday about the Matt Schlatt lawsuit. So we're trying to not feed into like the clickbait stuff. We're trying to have stuff where it might be topics that people aren't aware of, and it just gives a deep dive into it without, heavy bias and all that stuff. So I'm really proud of that. And I'm very interested to see if, see which direction it goes and if people like it.
There we go. Adam Cole, we are always grateful that you're so generous with our time. You definitely are an inspiration, and we hope that you keep up the good work.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. That's Adam Coleman. Make sure you follow him over on Twitter at wrong_speak pub. We appreciate that very much. All right. What do you think of Adam Coleman? It's just always great. Don't you love the guests that we have on this show? Always top notch. Glad to have you here. Thanks so much for being a part of the Wake Up America show. I'm super grateful to have an audience for my passion project of my life. The Wake Up America show, almost now coming into a year are coming up on our 1-year anniversary. We started in September of last year, and here it is almost, see, we're halfway through July. So I feel like, and we're going to do something special. We're going to have the Cantina crew is going to have a float trip. All of our friends of the show are going to get together, and everybody who wants to. Quest Fanning, I think Joni Rankin has RSVP'd, Matt Unruh. We're all going to get together and have a big float trip here in mid-Missouri, and it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited for that. Kind of celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the show. And it's been great to have all the support from all of our friends. And of course, our tradition of having Stephanie, my wife, on for Family Fridays. My brother Justin Peterson comes on. It's just, the last year has been really wonderful. And a lot of you have been a big part in making this show successful. So I'm very grateful to you all for this. I think you all are going to be really excited to see the documentary when it comes out. It's going to be a little while before it actually debuts, but starting in a week and a half, I guess. Let's see, to the 18th. So actually, yeah. So 10 days from now, Stephanie and I are going to be in Athens, Tennessee, filming a documentary about the Battle of Athens. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to givesendgo.com/bleedamerican. That's the working title for the documentary. We're going to have a lot of fun shooting that, and I've been getting all of our equipment together, and I'm probably going to need to take a few days off of the Wake Up America show. I'll see if my brother Justin or maybe Camelia can act as a fill-in host for the show. We'll see about that, but that, of course, will be up to them and if we can figure out the technology for that. So, all right. Yesterday, somebody messaged me and said, Austin, you've been teasing out how you had this story that you haven't talked about on the show just yet, and they've been wanting me to talk about it. I know I usually keep stories like these on backup in case I run out of things to talk about, and it just turns out, as it is, that I've run out of things to talk about today. So guess what? Here it is, 1980s movies that should never be remade. Are you ready? Because when we're talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the remakes, the endless remakes that Disney is doing, I think that the reason why people are so excited to see, 1, The Sound of Freedom, and 2, the Barbie movie, and then 3, Oppenheimer, is because people are desperate for new films. They're sick and tired of going and seeing these crap Hollywood remakes that actually, what is the case? Here's a question for my audience. I'm asking you right now. I'd love to know. What is an example of a movie that the remake was actually better than the original? I think there are. I'm going to Google it just real quick. Remakes that were better than the original movie. I'd love to see. Okay, some people say online, they're saying, oh, Scarface. Okay, there's a good example. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Didn't see the original on that one. Ocean's 11, The Fly, The Thing, and A Star is Born. I don't know about The Star is Born, about that one. The Thing, probably. The Fly, absolutely. Cheaper by the Dozen. Okay, this is debunking my whole premise here. Freaky Friday. Okay, there you go. The Mummy. Okay, for sure, definitely. West Side Story. Hell no. What is wrong with you? Okay, some of these lists are crap. It, Chapter 1 and 2. Do you think that I don't know. That's a tough one. The new one was very good. The new one was very good, but I'm not sure about that. So anyways, here's the list of 1980 movies that they should absolutely never make a remake of. 1 is Big Trouble in Little China. Don't you agree? John Carpenter's adventure comedy, right? It's a classic film. I hope they never reboot it. It's just one of my favorite movies. I've always loved it. I never want to see a remake of Big Trouble in Little China. Nobody could ever beat Kurt Russell or Kim Cattrall. That's a cult classic, and it should be untouched. How would you feel if Hollywood told you that they were going to do a remake of The Never-Ending Story? Sarah Palacios I wish they would have left Willow alone. Thank you. Yes, Sarah, finally somebody says what I've been feeling. I loved that movie as a kid, and I know people are like, it's a bad movie, but I loved it. I loved Willow. I played the Nintendo game Willow. I was into Willow lore. I might have even read a book that was based on the novel, and I got it way too into the lore and explored, into the depths of George Lucas's mind, and I loved Willow. And then when they made that remake, Sarah, I only saw clips of it. And you know what I did? I didn't go see it. It's like Indiana Jones. I did not go see Indiana Jones Part 4 or 5. I saw Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I regretted it. To this day, I was unhappy with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It was a mistake. I didn't like the way that they treated my hero, and so I didn't go see it. And so guess what? I didn't go see Indiana Jones Part 5 because I saw that they were kicking him around and trying to replace him with this lady who, God knows, I have no idea who she is, but that's it. I'm just not going to go see it. So I didn't watch the Willow series, and I'm sorry if you did, but yeah, fellow Willow, give me a fist bump here through the screen, Sarah Palacios, because yeah, hated it. Loved Willow as a kid. Never Ending Story. Please never do that. Inner Space. Oh, that was a great movie. The comedy Inner Space, where a miniaturized test pilot is injected into a hypochondriac store clerk. Right. It's definitely one that they shouldn't make a remake of. I haven't seen that one since I was a kid. I think my grandma showed me that movie. There are only 3 Indiana Jones, says Cheeky Mare. Exactly. Thank you. Only 3 Indiana Jones movies. Caddyshack, right? Is there any way that they could possibly redo that movie? I mean, they could try, but there's nobody who has the comedic chops of Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield. Who would ever be able to dare to try to walk into their shoes of comedic greatness? I gotta say, if they ever tried to remake Caddyshack, we should storm Hollywood. I know that people are really upset about the Hollywood strike out in Hollywood, but I don't think anybody else outside of Hollywood is really upset about the Hollywood strike. Are you? Hell no. Princess Bride, Joni Rankin. That's a good one. Good. I don't think it's on my list. But yeah, definitely. I think they are going to try and remake it. Please, God, I hope they don't. Stand By Me from 1986. That's, the one that's based on Stephen King's horror novella, The Body. Tells the story of 4 friends who set off on an adventure of a lifetime to find the body of a missing boy. Definitely something that can't be reproduced. The sort of the magic formula of those 4 boys, River Phoenix and just Corey Feldman before he went crazy, Will Wheaton, and who was the fat kid who turned up to who grew up to be big and ripped and became a gorgeous Hollywood model type. I can't remember. Though, yeah, Stand By Me. Definitely can't remake it. Here's another one that would be sacrilege. Airplane. Can you imagine if they tried to remake Airplane, the movie? How in God's green earth would they ever be able to pull something like that off? There's no way they could do it. The Breakfast Club, you can't, the premise of that, it just wouldn't work in today's environment, right? Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall. You couldn't remake The Breakfast Club, in my opinion. Now, they have been talking about making another sequel to this one, and I swear to God, I will boycott movies for all time if they remake Back to the Future. Don't you dare.
How dare you?
One of my favorite movies growing up, Back to the Future, 1985. The Goonies, another movie that they better not try and remake, of course. And, I guess Princess Bride was on my list. So there you go. Princess Bride on the list. Don't give them the idea, says A.L. Wild. Thank you, exactly. Rare Camellia says, Mary Poppins is my spirit animal. Have you got any other good ones that you can think of that Hollywood should never, ever remake? The Never Ending Story, we already said. Commando. What about Gremlins? Remake Gremlins. Last Starfighter. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's just no way. E.T., the Extraterrestrial. I just feel like it would never work. Labyrinth. That'd be wild if they tried to remake Labyrinth. Short Circuit. I don't think that's even possible. Iron Eagle, The Last Dragon, Spaceballs. Oh my God. Just imagine what amazing flops that would be if any of those movies, they tried to remake them like Caddyshack. Please don't. Cheeky Mare says, I really like that whole Stephen King short stories book. Me too. Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption, The Body, and 2 others. Yes, I used to be a huge Stephen King fan before he went insane, but I always read his books as a kid. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Wake Up America show. So thankful to have you here as a listener. Have you gotten your bag of Founding Flavors coffee yet? If you have, please leave a review over on the website. All you got to do is maybe take a picture of yourself with the bag. I know some of you have been tweeting your pictures at me, but what I would really appreciate is if you would take those pictures and post them on the page for the coffee that you bought itself. I'm looking at you, Camellia Peterson. Please, please, please. I know you haven't written reviews for any of the other items you've gotten, and I'm grateful that you bought them, but please write a review for the coffee. We need those so bad in order for us to be able to grow our business so that we can spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. Do you hate liberty? Well, then don't leave a review, right? If you don't like liberty, right? Thanks so much for everything that you do. Check out ap4libertyshop.com. That's AP, the number 4, ap4libertyshop.com. If you enjoyed your Founding Flavors coffee today, thank a founding father. Founding of the Founding Flavors. Thanks, Tolly. We appreciate that. I see you over there. Thank you to Camellia, Chris Morrill, Sarah Palacios, Matt Unruh, who I'll be seeing soon, A.L. Wild, Cheeky Mare. Appreciate our moderator friend over there. Give her a round of applause. The Hot Water 84, Buddy Mansour, Without the State Podcast, Andy Opperman here with us today. Love you all. Thanks so much for being a part of the Wake Up America show, as well as our friends over on Rumble, European Tin Beater, Kermode Bear, Katie556, Will Run Riot, Nelson65, Quantum Kitty, and many others. We appreciate you. Make sure you click that like button before you leave the show and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you tomorrow. Blue Trike says Monty Python, The Princess Bride. Didn't want to miss you there, Blue Trike. Cool. See you tomorrow morning on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website, and I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every $1 we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.